Together, she echoed, the word tasting both sweet and significant on her tongue. The promise lingered as they both leaned closer, their intentions woven in the silent agreement to shield each other from the darkness that threatened to engulf them. "Then let's do this," she declared, their shared resolve lighting a spark of courage amidst uncertainty. And somewhere beyond the warm cafe walls, shadows began to stir, dark figures looking for opportunities only chaos could provide. But for Tonja and Enzo, the embers of their bond were enough to ignite hope. As they stood from the table, preparing for the storm to come, the possibility of alliances, both strategic and emotional, swayed like a banner overhead, daring them to fight for what they could have. Scene 93, Cleansing Fire. The large windows of the FBI field office glinted in the afternoon sun, a dazzling facade that belied the chaos buzzing within. Enzo leaned against the polished granite countertop, arms crossed, his dark eyes fixated on Tonja as she paced back and forth. The vibrant energy of the office stirred with whispers, clattering keyboards, and the rustle of freshly printed documents, creating a symphony of anticipation amidst the weight of what lay ahead. "Are we really ready to unveil all of this?" Enzo asked, his tone quietly probing yet filled with urgency. He gestured towards the reports scattered across the table, detailing their recent findings, the evidence that could expose corruption within the FBI itself. Tonja paused, her brow slightly furrowed, as if weighing a delicate balance. "If we don't act now, it all goes back into the shadows. We've got enough evidence to take down Morgan and his entire operation." Her voice rang with conviction, yet a flicker of doubt crossed her face. He stepped closer, noting the way her breath quickened, the faintest hint of sweat glistening along her brow. "But what if they retaliate? This isn't just a case anymore. It's a war." Enzo kept his voice low, the gravity of their situation making him acutely aware of the stakes involved. Tonja turned to him, her determination mingling with a vulnerability that tugged at her heart. "We've come this far together. I can't let this end in silence." Silence enveloped them for a brief moment, thick and charged, as Enzo studied her expression, hoping to gauge what lay beneath the surface. The quickening pulse of their shared tension was palpable, lingering like an unsaid promise. The world around them faded, the hum of office life quieting as their eyes locked, an electric current sparking between them. "What if I told you," he began, stepping back, needing space but drawn in by her essence, "that I'm afraid of losing you?" The words slithered from his lips before he could filter them, raw and honest. Tonja blinked, surprise flaring in her wide eyes. "What do you mean?" she asked, the unease shifting into something tender as she searched for his truth in the shadows of his expression. "I mean it. This mission, it's bigger than either of us. If things go south..." His voice trailed off, replaced by a heavy silence that wrapped around them like a cocoon. "I won't let fear drive our choices," she said, her tone softer now, yet resolute. "Not again." And there it was, the shared history woven into the strides they had taken, each step leading them into uncharted territory. Enzo's heart raced. The space between them crackled with an intensity that both thrilled and unsettled him. He reached out, brushing his fingers against her arm, their warmth igniting. Tonja inhaled sharply, her breath mingling with the shadowed fears that lurked behind their intentions. Her mind spun with possibilities, each more daunting than the last, but here, facing her partner, all that noise faded away. "I trust you, Enzo," she whispered, a vulnerability shining through, a silent admission that intertwined their fates. Before he could respond, she surged forward, closing the distance. The warmth of their bodies felt magnetic, drawing them together in an unspoken understanding. Enzo's heartbeat thundered in tandem with hers. In that charged moment, he leaned in, their lips brushing gently, softly, a sweet promise suspended in the air. As the warmth enveloped them, Tonja's hand slid to the back of his neck, urging him closer. The kiss deepened, swirling with textures of longing and the comfort of familiarity, each flicker of intimacy revealing layers of trust that neither had fully acknowledged until now. Time stood still, each heartbeat reverberating as they surrendered to the moment. Lost in the sensation, the kiss held them in its embrace as passion flared and the world outside melted into the background. The urgency of their mission remained, yet within this fleeting eternity, the light of hope whispered a promise of a future untainted by deception. Suddenly, the office door swung open, snapping them back to reality. Laughter erupted from a group of agents, bustling in, shattering the serene atmosphere like glass. Tanja and Enzo pulled away, breathless, with lingering touches that whispered of what had just transpired. Well, that's one hell of a team pep talk. Rosie's voice rang out, her eyes twinkling mischievously as she caught the aftermath. Tanja cleared her throat, struggling to mask the blush creeping across her cheeks. Just strategizing, she replied, forcing a smile as the sudden embarrassment mingled with excitement. Enzo raised an eyebrow, mirroring her playful facade, even as his heart pounded in tempo with the underlying tension. Yes, strategy. Sounds professional. The laughter echoed around them, but as the agents crowded together, the moment lingered, a fiery ember igniting the path ahead, one filled with danger, laughter, and the intricate dance of what was yet to come. Scene 94, Final Preparations. The office hummed with the quiet buzz of fluorescent lights, filling the air with a sterile brightness that bounced off the polished surfaces of chrome and glass. Outside, the sky was a slate of clouds, a promise of rain looming over the city, transforming the vibrant chatter of the street into a muted refrain. Tonja Coleman sat at her desk, surrounded by ominous files, her expression resolute, yet clouded with an undercurrent of tension. The scent of fresh coffee lingering in the air fought with the stale notes of paperwork and anxiety, a battleground of thoughts as she rifled through the case reports, gleaning details that danced tantalizingly close to revelation. Enzo Arnaud leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, his posture relaxed but eyes sharp, observing her with a mix of admiration and concern. The way a stray ray of light caught his charcoal curls illuminated the shadows under his cheekbones, highlighting the definition there in a way that made her heart race unexpectedly. He held her gaze longer than necessary, a magnetic pull that charged the space between them as palpable as a threat. Tanja, he said, his voice low, each word weighted with an unspoken agenda. Are we ready for this? Ready or not, we have to push forward, Tanja replied, her lips curling into a tight smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She turned away from the report, aligning her will with resolve, while the flickering tension made the air seem heavy. Her fingers drummed against the desk, a silent reminder of the storm brewing not only outside but within her psyche as well. The ever-present sense of danger lurked just beneath the surface, stirring restlessly. Sometimes I wonder if we ever truly prepare for what lies ahead, he said, stepping into the room and closing the door behind him, muffling the world outside. Suddenly, they were cloistered, the walls vibrating with the unspoken emotions that ricocheted between them. Tanja tilted her head slightly, studying him as he crossed the room to stand beside her. It was both comforting and disconcerting to be so close to him. The proximity intensified everything, the thud of her heart, the sharp intake of breath, the unyielding attraction that fought to be tamed. Every time I think I have it figured out, I confront another layer, she admitted, slipping into the raw honesty that had always marked their partnership. Why do you think that is? He prodded gently, stepping just a fraction closer. She could see the vulnerability in his eyes. He was wrestling with something of his own, something that gnawed beneath that easy charm of his. Because there's always a new player in the game, she answered, shaking her head, frustration mingling with the truth she felt so deeply. Just when we think we're onto something, we uncover another threat. Look at what happened last week. Her voice sharpened, tension flipping the air like the flutter of a wing inviting. But Tanja, he said, folding arms tighter against his chiseled chest, leaning into her intensity. I don't think we've ever faced a threat quite like this. Whoever is orchestrating this, they're playing to win. This isn't just any job, it's personal. She felt the heat rise in the space between them, the electric energy poised to ignite. I know, she whispered, and when it becomes personal, that's when it gets dangerous. The reflection of the ominous weight of their responsibilities hovered over them. Her psychic abilities often positioned her as leader and protector, an instinct that wrapped temptations tightly around their partnership. Are we on the same page with this? Enzo's voice dropped nearly to a whisper, each syllable pulling at her insides, crashing down defenses she hadn't known were up. The moment held, thick with tension, neither willing to breach that invisible boundary, yet both drawn unavoidably closer. The delicate dance of partnership was as unstable as the world they operated in, and yet, amid the looming chaos, shared a peculiar warmth in their connection that made the far future feel bright with possibilities. And just then, as if sensing the tension flare, Enzo's hand brushed against hers, an innocent enough action, yet it sent ripples through her heart. Heat washed over her skin, and their eyes locked, an electric cocktail of fear and longing binding them together in an embrace they had yet to fully acknowledge. "Let's keep our heads in the game," he finally said, breaking the spell. "Because if we're going to beat them, we need to work seamlessly, like we always do, right?" She nodded slowly, a smile breaking through the clouds of doubt. "Always." The promise danced in the air, an affirmation of unity amidst chaos, each word stoking the unawakened desire they both struggled to ignore. Scene 95, a new beginning. A soft drizzle pattered against the window, transforming the cityscape outside into a watercolor of shimmering lights and blurred shapes. Inside the cozy confines of Tonja Coleman's apartment, warm hues painted the interior, spilling over opulent furniture and accentuating the meticulously arranged potted plants. She stood in the kitchen, focused on an array of ingredients sprawled across the countertop. "Do we really need all this?" Enzo Arnaud leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, a half smirk tracing his lips. His dark hair was tousled, a look that made him both devil-may-care and irresistibly charming. Tanja shot him a playful glare. "A proper celebration dinner was suggested, wasn't it? Or do you prefer takeout again? Takeout is still food." She rolled her eyes, turning back to the assortment of herbs, meats, and sauces. "Food with no soul. Plus, we need to celebrate this win properly. The syndicate is out of our hair. Time for new beginnings." "But isn't that a little domestic for us?" His voice teased, but there was a flicker of something else, perhaps uncertainty. As he took a step closer, the musky scent of his cologne mixing with the aromatic spices. Her smile faded slightly, realizing the thin veil of tension now enveloping them. "Nothing domestic about proving that we can still manage the chaos in our lives while enjoying a good meal. You're just afraid of the we in this new beginning." "Maybe I'm just afraid of you turning into a domestic diva," he quipped, his eyes sparkling with playful mischief. "Or maybe you're reflecting your own insecurities about this we've built," she challenged, picking up a knife to chop the fresh herbs. The blade bit into the basil like her words, sharp and precise. He straightened, his playful demeanor faltering. "What are you getting at, Tanja?" "What I'm getting at, Enzo, is that we've danced around this connection, this partnership for too long. The events with the syndicate and the whole fake engagement, they changed things. Can't you see that?" The atmosphere thickened, the hum of tension amplifying as Enzo remained silent, studying her with a gaze that pierced through the playful banter they'd maintained. "I thought we agreed to keep it professional, focus on the cases ahead." Tanja set down the knife, crossed her arms, and narrowed her eyes. "We've faced life and death together. How can we pretend that doesn't matter, that it doesn't shift everything?" He stepped closer, tension radiating off of him. "You have your psychic powers. You can see things I can't. How can this not feel like a slippery slope to you?" Her heart raced, a storm brewing inside its confines as she took a breath. "It feels like you're afraid of losing me, and I can't fathom that fear without knowing why. Is it that you don't trust us?" A gust of wind howled outside, rattling the window as if the very world around them echoed the turmoil brewing inside. Enzo pinched the bridge of his nose, frustration flickering across his features. "It's complicated, Tanja. You're brilliant, and I'm just me. Just you?" Her tone softened, sympathy creeping in. "Enzo, you're not just a shadow. Stop minimizing yourself. You're my partner on and off duty." His eyes flickered with a sense of hurt. "But it feels like you're inviting someone into this vulnerable space, and I can't help but wonder. What are you worried about? That I'll wake up one day and see you as just a partner?" "No," he said, raising his voice, yet his frustration melted into something else, a vulnerability that broke the defenses he typically wore so confidently. "I'm worried about what happens when this facade crumbles away." Tanja stepped closer, invading that line they both seemed afraid to cross. "Then let it be honest, Enzo. We can choose to craft our own reality, one that's better than the shadows we've danced in before. Their gazes locked, an electric silence igniting the space between them. Enzo's breath caught as he leaned in, conflict warring with desire. So what do we make of this? Something real, she whispered, her tension dissipating like the storm clouds overhead, leaving behind the promise of sun breaking through. He reached out, his fingers brushing her arm lightly. A simple connection, yet it sent a thrill through her, grounding them in this emotional landscape they were navigating together. Then let's make it count. As her heart fluttered in response, Tonja felt the warmth of his touch anchor her. Let's start with dinner and see where the journey takes us. Dinner, huh? With herbs. Enzo chuckled lightly, a softening of the tension, allowing a smile to grace his lips. Absolutely, she replied, mirroring his smile, knowing this was the beginning of something beautifully complex. Just wait until you taste my emotion-infused cooking. He grinned back, a warmth emanating like the sun peeking through the clouds. Okay, you've officially made me curious. As they began to work side by side, the kitchen filled with adequate laughter and hope, an essence of new beginnings, sparking a profound transformation. The little mundane task of cooking became a testament to their growing bond, a shared motion towards something powerful, real, and lasting. Scene 96. After the fall, the thrumming pulse of the city vibrated beneath the glass of the penthouse window. Night descended like a velvet curtain, punctuated by warm, flickering lights from street lamps and the occasional whoosh of distant traffic. Inside the apartment, shadows danced along the walls, cast by the low wash of a sleek lamp illuminating the room's elegant, contemporary decor. The scent of brewed coffee wafted in the air, a warm invitation tinged with just a hint of bitterness. Tonja Coleman stood by the window, her silhouette framed against the twinkling skyline. With arms crossed tightly against her chest, she stared unfocused into the distance, a glass of cooling coffee resting on the polished surface beside her. The vibrant lights below glowed like stars fallen from the sky, each a reminder of the world she sought to protect, yet often struggled to navigate. Do you think we've gone too far? Enzo Arnaud's voice sliced through the quiet. He leaned against the doorway, arms casually relaxed, yet the tension in his stance gave away a deeper turmoil. He watched her with a careful eye, the weight of their recent battles hanging thick between them. Tonja tilted her head slightly, catching Enzo's gaze. The way he watched her, a blend of concern and admiration, sent an electric charge through the air. What do you mean? She replied, trying to keep her tone light, though the gravity of her work pulled her thoughts to darker places. Engaging with this syndicate, the double life, we're not just playing characters in a story. His brow furrowed slightly as he pushed off the doorframe, crossing to her side. The air thickened as he drew near, a warmth she couldn't ignore. No, we're not. She turned, her back to the window now, the cool glass a distant memory. Their eyes locked, an understanding passing between them that was almost tangible. This is real, and I feel it every day. Silence dripped heavily around them, punctuated by the soft hum of the city beyond. Tonja's heart raced. His presence pulled her like a tide, an aching reminder of all they had fought for and against. Are you sure you're ready for this? Enzo's voice dipped lower, almost hesitant, laden with an emotion she couldn't quite decipher. A question lingered unsaid, hovering in the charged air like a whispered promise. Am I ever ready? She countered, a shiver of vulnerability threading through her words. Her fingers instinctively tightened around the cold glass of her coffee, the chill a stark contrast to the warmth emanating from him. When had they become so intimately intertwined in this vortex of danger? With a subtle stretch, Enzo reached out, brushing his fingertips against her wrist, an electric jolt sparking between them that made her breath hitch in her throat. He wasn't asking just about their mission anymore. It was something deeper, almost primal. Tonja's heartbeat quickened, her instincts screaming a warning laced with desire. We can handle this, Enzo. Together. She carefully extracted her wrist from his touch, yet lingering feelings hummed in the space where he had just been. The playful banter they often shared felt paltry in the wake of this charged moment. Together, he echoed her word, almost as if testing its strength. But are we ready for what comes next? Because this He gestured widely, encompassing the world unfolding around them, is only the beginning. The weight of his words settled over her, a heavy cloak that draped across her shoulders. For a fleeting moment, she longed to give in to the gravity of this connection, to surrender to the intoxicating pull between them. Instead, she straightened her posture, invoking her resolve. Every beginning has its risks. It doesn't matter how equipped we think we are. I know, Tonja. Enzo stepped closer, lowering his voice as if revealing a crucial secret. But have you ever thought what would happen if one day we're not prepared? His dark eyes flickered with unspoken fears, but she held her ground, refusing to shy away from them. Then we rise. We're agents. We adapt. For a long heartbeat, neither moved. The vibrancy of the city outside contrasted deeply with the quiet intensity inside, the character of their partnership hanging by the thinnest of threads. It's terrifying, he said softly, still close enough for her to see the way frustration mingled with concern in his features. Or exciting, she countered, a grin teasing at her lips, the tension slightly easing. Depends on how you see it. Her attempt to lighten the mood broke the heavy air, and Enzo's lips quirked back, a glimmer of that charismatic charm returning. I see a potential circus act with a tight rope. Just so long as we don't juggle flaming swords, she replied, laughter bubbling up between them, reminding them of the joy in navigating this complex world together. Just as easily, the laughter faded to silence, each lost in thought, the realization that the journey ahead was fraught with danger, binding them tighter than ever before. Just promise me something, Enzo said, his voice gentle yet grave. Whatever happens, we stay honest with each other. Always. And as the night deepened around them, the echoes of their uncertainty blended with the powerful resolve they shared, two partners on the edge of a daunting new chapter with the weight of the world resting on their shoulders. 97. Lingering shadows. Tonja Coleman leaned against the cool granite railing of the fire escape, her gaze sweeping over the bustling energy of the city below. Smoke curled from a distant street vendor's grill, mingling with the scent of rain on asphalt, while the familiarity of laughter and shouting filtered up from the alleyway. It was the heart of Manhattan, where dreams danced in the cacophony of chaos, a stark contrast to the tumult roiling within her. The tension between her and Enzo felt like wires strung taut, ready to snap. The sun dipped low, casting elongated shadows that seemed to listen in on her conflicted thoughts. She could feel her pulse quickening, each beat a reminder of the masquerade they were playing. The fake engagement meant to shield them from a crime syndicate's gaze. Yet, in the quiet unease of their partnership, the air between them crackled like static, alive with unspoken words. Good view up here, Enzo said, his voice as smooth as the fading light. He stepped out from the shadows, his dark eyes betraying nothing, yet capturing everything as they slid to her. He had that just-off-work look, his tie loosened, the top button of his shirt undone, radiating an effortless charm that both calmed and excited her. It's never been better, she replied lightly, crossing her arms and fighting to keep the corners of her mouth from betraying her. The scent of freshly pressed linen, mixed with his woodsy cologne, filled the air, grounding her even as the flutter in her heart spiraled. He stepped closer, the steel railing at her back whispering vulnerability, and for a moment, the world around them faded. She could see the faintest pinpoint of worry etched across his brow, something deeper shadowed in the chasms of his thoughtful expressions. The blackmail from the syndicate transformed him, just as it nearly bound her in chains. The unrelenting weight of their circumstances loomed over any fleeting moments of joy. "How's your head?" he asked, raising his hand almost instinctively, as if it were second nature to check on her after a vision, a habit formed from countless scenes replayed in her mind, from bloodied streets to desperate eyes. "It's clearing," she reassured, allowing a brief smile to flicker across her lips. Then, in a deliberate move, she let her arms drop to her sides, relishing the discord between their electric connection. A shared glance lingered too long, charged with the longing simmering just beneath the surface, dancing like an ember. "I had another vision. It's not just them, we're getting closer." Closer to what? The truth? Enzo stepped in even closer, tempting the space between them, the air thickening like honey. Or more lies. She inhaled sharply, the unexpected intensity of his proximity heightened by the weight of their lives colliding. Truth, yes. A quiver escaped her, betraying the level of anxiety she fought to mask. But it comes at a cost, I can feel it. With that admission, she surrendered, if only a fraction, to the buried vulnerability she had worked overtime to fortify. Enzo's demeanor softened, his lips curving into a smile that could melt glaciers, revealing the boyish charm central to his allure, even amid the war they waged against darkness. She met his gaze, a challenge sparking, igniting the silence like fireworks in the quiet of night. Then what are we waiting for? He took another step forward, his presence wrapping around her like a woven tapestry on the brink of unraveling. In that moment, the universe narrowed, inviting her into the raw reality of them, a fragile filament connecting two souls forged in the fires of adversity. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears, and she could feel the world tilting on its axis. The arguments, the chaos, it all vanished as he reached out, brushing a strand of hair away from her face, his fingers lingering on her cheek. It was a simple gesture, yet it held a weight that spoke louder than their tangled words. Tonja, he murmured, his voice an intimate whisper that made her shiver. The universe expanded into that connection, his eyes darkening with desire, a reflection of all the emotions that swirled between them. Heat built between them, sparking like kindling to flame. She leaned in instinctively, her breath catching as their lips hovered tantalizingly close, a breath away, a heartbeat away. Enzo. The name escaped her, filled with longing and trepidation. Just trust me, okay? His voice, low and sincere, stroked her resolve like a whisper of silk. She nodded, and in that shared moment, their faces brushed together, igniting the tension into an undeniable, intoxicating kiss. Her pulse raced, energy flooding through her veins as their lips melded, igniting profound feelings that felt both foreign and achingly familiar. But just as quickly, shadows of reality encroached, an urgent reminder that they were still entangled with a darkness that clawed at their edges. The kiss deepened, yet remnants of the syndicate's grasp held fast, the lingering sensation of danger threading through the tender intimacy between them. As they broke apart, both gasping for air, the walls of the city seemed to close in, whispering reminders of their mission, their night unspooling into a tapestry of complex emotions. Whatever happens next, Enzo said softly, brushing his thumb over her cheek, we'll face it together. Tonja could only nod, her mind racing, heart still pounding, lingering shadows weaving through the promise of unanswered questions yet to unfold. Scene 98, New Assignments. The sun dipped low over the city skyline, casting a warm orange hue that shimmered against the glass facades of buildings. The roar of afternoon traffic murmured in the distance, blending with the laughter of children playing in the park across the street. Inside the sleek, modern office of the FBI's Quantico branch, the atmosphere buzzed with a palpable tension. Tonja Coleman stood by the tall windows, arms crossed, her silhouette striking against the chaos of the world outside. Another day, another headache, Enzo Arnaud quipped as he stepped into the office, the crispness of his tailored suit contrasting with the casual mood of the sunny day. He tossed a file onto the table, the papers spilling out like secrets escaping their confines. Tonja sighed, glancing briefly at the papers before returning her gaze to the horizon. "What's today's lovely assignment?" she asked, her tone light, but the weight in her chest betrayed her playful demeanor. The recent cases had left her feeling more burdened, aware that the deeper they delved into the underworld, the narrower their path back to light became. Enzo leaned against the desk, arms folded, as he replied. "We've got a suspected human trafficking ring operating out of those abandoned warehouses in the East End, but it's not just any run-of-the-mill crimes. There's chatter about powerful players involved, those who won't hesitate to silence anyone who gets in their way." As Tonja turned to face him, the vibrant sunset reflected off his dark hair, creating an unexpected halo. "Anything involving powerful players is bound to bring trouble," she said softly, the worry pooling in her chest. "And you know we love trouble," Enzo shot back, his playful smirk breaking the tension like a crack of thunder. He stepped closer, the heat of his presence warming the space between them. "Besides, we've got each other's backs, right?" Tonja met his gaze. The flicker of confidence he inspired in her often left her blushing in disbelief. "Always," she confirmed. But uncertainty clouded her expression as they exchanged a moment caught in silence, their breaths mingling with the crisp air of impending night. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, startling both of them. Enzo's smile vanished, and together they moved to the sounds of chaos. In the next room, the team had gathered for a briefing, the energy of excitement hanging thick. "Everyone thinks they're invincible," a voice cut through the crowd. Clearly from Miles, the brash agent known for pushing more than just the limits of his department. What they don't see is the cracks above the surface. Just then, Rosie Santana, Tonja's best friend and fellow agent, burst through the door, eyebrows raised. "And look who we have here, king of overdramatics. What have you been telling them this time?" She laughed, her jovial spirit breaking the tension entirely. "Just the usual," Miles said, grinning. "How we're all going to die a glorious death because the intel is as reliable as a paper umbrella in a hurricane." The chuckles from surrounding agents created a tapestry of warmth in the room. But Tanja's heartbeat quickened, the anxious undertone creeping back into her mind. Before she could respond, the door swung open again, and a figure stepped in, undeniably powerful. Agents turned towards the newcomer, sensing the shift in the air. The fearsome presence of their chief, Director Marshall, commanded respect. As he cleared his throat, the room erupted into hushed whispers, tension lacing the air once more. "Agent Coleman, Agent Arnaud," he said, locking eyes with them before shifting his gaze over the entire team. "We have serious work ahead. It starts tonight." "Long night ahead, huh?" Rosie leaned in, nudging Tonja. "What's a little action to spice up our lives? Just keep your head in the game," Enzo replied, a hint of concern creeping into his voice. But amidst the humor and the tension, an unexpected connection pulled Tonja closer to Enzo. His shoulder brushed against hers, a simple touch sending ripples of awareness through her. The air felt denser, charged, an unspoken bond crackled along the edges of their partnership. "Ready to dig in?" he asked, the smirk returning, as if daring her not to look away. "Very." And as their eyes locked, the world around them faded into a mere backdrop. The case, their colleagues, and the looming danger melted away, leaving just the two of them suspended in time. She moved forward instinctively, the impulse both thrilling and terrifying, caught in the magnetic pull that had been building over countless cases and shared glances. The moment lingered, the air thick with the unyielding potential of what lay just beyond the threshold of friendship, only to be interrupted as Director Marshall clapped his hands. "Meeting adjourned. Great, everyone. Let's go catch some bad guys." A collective groan filled the room, while Tonja and Enzo exchanged disappointed glances. But in that instant, something was clear. Whatever dangers lay ahead, they were nothing without each other. Scene 99, Hidden Threats. A steady drizzle pattered against the window of Tonja and Enzo's temporary headquarters, a repurposed three-story brownstone nestled in a quiet neighborhood of D.C., holding secrets of its own. The soft glow of warm light from a flickering lamp illuminated Tonja as she scrutinized a mapping board cluttered with photographs and notes. Her fingers traced the outlines of potential suspects, a combination of old foes and shadowy figures from a case she thought was long buried. Each familiar face brought a pang of emotion, delicate as the fall of rain outside, yet heavy with implications. Enzo strolled in from the kitchen, a steaming mug of coffee in hand, a furrowed brow hinting at his concern for both the case and her well-being. "You missed the part where they were supposed to be out of our lives," he said, his voice steady but laced with frustration as he leaned against the doorframe. Tonja glanced up, dark curls framing her determined expression, the grit of their work every bit as palpable as the moisture in the air. "I thought so too, but they're back, and they always know how to make an entrance," she replied, gesturing toward a photo of an elusive woman caught on camera, her presence creating unease as palpable as thunder rumbling in the distance. "Seems like our romantic escapade turned into a reunion." Enzo took a sip, his eyes narrowed, scanning the room as if expecting their enemies to burst in at any moment. "We could use a strategy meeting, not a drive down memory lane." Tonja's world narrowed to just the two of them amid the ongoing storm brewing beyond the walls. And yet, here we are. This is personal. The hunting tone in her voice softened as she stood, their shared space charged with something electric yet unspoken. As the rain picked up, drumming in a syncopated rhythm against the glass, a latent tension hung between them. Enzo stepped closer, the scent of rich coffee mingling with something deeper, something heartfelt. Sometimes I wish I could just let you handle this on your own, but there's no I in this. She leaned forward, lowering her voice as if confessing a closely kept secret. Her proximity ignited something fierce in her heart as she mirrored his advance. We've always approached this together, haven't we? He sighed, the weight of their partnership evident on his face. That's what scares me most. You press ahead, charging into trouble while he gestured toward her intuition, hinting at her gifts. I can't always be your shield. Tonja caught her breath, recalling the days before her abilities unfolded in unpredictable ways. I don't need a shield, Enzo. I need you. Her voice broke amidst the gravity of their conversation, punctuated by the rain's sudden intensity mimicking the discord in the air. For a heartbeat, the world dissolved into a haze of memories, chasing down leads, disarming foes, rescuing one another from danger. In this hazy refuge, the tension shifted, leaving them both breathless. She edged closer, daring to bridge the emotional chasm laid bare between them. The moment felt fraught, ripe with possibilities and uncharted boundaries. I can't shake the feeling that they want something more from us, he murmured, his gaze drifting to her lips then slipping away, a battle waging behind his stoic facade. How do we protect ourselves from their game? The same way we always do. Tonja murmured, heart racing. The distance between them seemed to shrink, charged with an electric gravity. Together. Enzo's steady demeanor faltered, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. An unspoken understanding crackled in the air. They could feel the weight of each passing second, filled with the promise of intimacy and danger interwoven. Tonja closed the gap just as the rain crescendoed outside, a mix of warmth and anticipation swirling in the air. Before any words could break the moment, she leaned in, her eyes searching his for agreement, and met his lips softly. Time warped as the kiss deepened, wrapped in the urgency of their connection. It was an embrace that bridged their past struggles and an uncertain future. They parted, breathless, the rain outside mimicking the longing that hung in the air around them. Whatever's coming, we face it together, she whispered, her heart racing. Behind the storm, unseen threats loomed, and as she stepped back, shadows of their past awaited in the dark abyss. Scene 100, Faith and Fortitude. The oppressive humidity hung in the air, wrapping around Tonja like a heavy shawl. She stood on the balcony of their government-issued apartment, the sun slipping behind distant clouds as it prepared for an impending storm. The sky flashed with bruised purples and grays, mirroring the conflict turmoil brewing within her. As a seasoned agent, she had faced danger on countless occasions, yet the looming case felt heavier. It wasn't the criminal mastermind they were chasing that unnerved her. It was the unexamined emotional intensity swirling between her and Enzo. Inside, she could hear Enzo pacing, the soft tap of his polished shoes on the hardwood floor punctuating the tense silence. The dim light of their living room flickered, casting artful shadows as if the dimness itself was jealous of their burgeoning bond. I swear, this city is suffocating, Enzo remarked from inside, his voice rich with frustration. He stepped out, loosening his tie, his dark hair tousled by the breeze that carried the first few droplets of rain. I can feel the weight of the whole syndicate pressing down on us. It's like we're drowning before the first splash of the ocean. Try not to drown in your own thoughts, she teased softly, a half smile already warming her expression, the corner of her mouth curling in an inviting arc. Or have you forgotten what it feels to breathe? A fleeting smile danced on his lips, but his eyes remained shadowed with concern. I'm trying, but it's hard to swim through chaos. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, muscles taut beneath his shirt. And you're still acting like everything's fine. Tonja's heart skipped, a hot pang of guilt cutting through her levity. She sensed the connection deepening, their partnership solid, but the masquerade felt increasingly frail. Her psychic intuition prickled at the edges of her consciousness, whispering unwelcome truths. Was their engagement becoming more than a ruse for this case? It is fine, she said firmly, tilting her chin with resolve. It has to be. The humid air thickened, causing her skin to glisten. This is bigger than you and me. We have to focus on the case. But do you see? That's the problem. Enzo stepped closer, the space between them charged with an intense electric energy. We can't just pretend this is business as usual when everything's stacked against us. And you, he hesitated, brow furrowing, you're hiding behind your work. Her stomach tightened as raindrops began to fall, pattering against the railing like anxious hearts. It's not hiding, Enzo, it's survival. He sighed deeply, frustration sparking in his eyes. Survival requires trust. How can I trust you when you won't let me in? Tonja's pulse quickened. What do you want me to do, Enzo? Expose my secrets like peeling back paint on a wall. You don't bear the weight of my abilities, my past. The wind shifted, gusting through, carrying their unspoken fears with it. And what kind of life can we have if we can't share those secrets? He closed the gap between them. You and I, we're in this together, all the parts, even the messy ones. A crack of thunder rumbled overhead, mirroring the tension that crackled between them. You don't understand, Tonja murmured, her voice barely a whisper as the rain intensified. You think I'm the shield, but the truth is I feel vulnerable every single day. That vulnerability is what makes you human. Enzo replied, inches away now, searching her gaze for a spark of understanding. And it's what connects us. You can show me your scars, Tonja. I want to see you fully. The rain poured down. They were both drenched in the emotional torrent. They stood together, suspended in the moment, droplets cascading down their hair and mixing with a tension that could only yield to intimacy. Each beat of her heart seemed to synchronize with the thunder's rumble, the world swirling around them, fading into insignificance. Tonja reached out, brushing her fingers against his forearm, the warmth radiating through his crisp shirt, igniting a chain reaction deep within. What if I'm not strong enough? She breathed, vulnerability clashing with her fierce nature. Enzo's eyes softened, and he took her hand, holding it firmly as if to transmit his strength to her. You are stronger than you know. We all have our storms. Facing them is the only way forward. With the rain as their witness and their breath mingling in a charged stillness, Tonja felt as though she could share everything, the fears, the visions, the gravity of her existence. And somewhere in that stormy twilight, she realized that their journey wasn't just about the case. It was about understanding each other, perhaps even loving each other, amidst the chaos of their intertwined lives. Then, let's weather the storm together, she said, a resolute smile breaking through, the corners of her heart aligning with the truth. Together, he echoed, and the thunder rolled like an applause, the first sign of peace amid the uncertainty. It only took faith and fortitude to find it. Scene 101. Countdown to danger. The air crackled with tension, heavy with the scent of impending rain, as dark clouds loomed over downtown D.C. Tonja Coleman leaned against the sleek marble counter of the cafe, her fingers tapping an erratic rhythm against the polished surface. The familiar blend of roasted coffee beans tinged the room, but today, even the rich aroma couldn't penetrate the knot of anxiety knotting her stomach. Time was running out. Why are we even here? Enzo Arnaud's voice cut through her turbulent thoughts as he slid into the seat across from her, his eyes sharp and questioning. The cafe bustled with patrons, oblivious to the urgency cloaked in their discussion. We're wasting precious minutes. Tonja's gaze flicked to the digital clock on the cafe wall, its relentless countdown ticking away like a metronome to a dark symphony. Because I need to know what I'm sensing, she replied, the conviction in her voice betraying the doubt curling in her gut. If we don't figure this out, people could get hurt, or we could just be chasing shadows. Enzo leaned forward, frustration etching lines into his handsome features. You're not some superhero. You can't save everyone. Silence hung between them, thick and palpable. The hum of conversation faded, replaced by the muted clatter of porcelain and the faint hiss of the espresso machine. Tonja's heart raced, each pulse pounding against her sternum. She knew he didn't truly believe that. They both lived in the shadows of uncertainty. I know what I can feel, Enzo. She met his stormy gaze, her voice a razor's edge. Trust me, we're not just waiting, we're on the brink of something dangerous. And what if you're wrong? His challenge danced in the air, their unspoken history swirling with tension. The unresolved feelings they tiptoed around felt close enough to touch, but the stakes were higher today. What if your visions are just what? She interrupted, her voice rising despite herself. Just another piece of evidence I need to validate your doubts? What if I'm right? Are you prepared for that? Tonja. Before he could finish, the cafe's door swung open with a violent creak, followed by an unexpected gust of wind. A cluster of 8 men entered, clad in dark clothing, the kind that sent chills spiraling through any onlooker. They moved like wolves, their energy predatory, eyes flicking around the room with an unsettling precision. Tonja felt the room shrink around her, breaths hitching as a flicker of vision danced behind her eyelids, pain, blood, hurried footsteps. Enzo, we need to? Her warning fell flat as the men approached their table, tightening the space between them. Look who we have here, one of the intruders said with a mocking grin, his voice smooth as silk, but filled with an undercurrent of malice. The FBI princess herself. You've been making quite the name for yourself, haven't you? A jolt of anger sparked within her as she stood, fists clenching at her sides. You need to leave. Or what? You'll make me? The room held its breath, their playful banter echoing hollowly off the walls. Enzo stood, an imposing figure intent on protecting her. You don't want to escalate this. A flash of rage simmered between Tonja and Enzo as one of the intruders smirked, drawing closer. What are you going to do? Play pretend? With a sudden fluidity, Tonja stepped forward, the air shifting as she grasped the attacker's wrist, sending a shock of energy through their skin. Visions flooded her mind, chaos, desperation, dark thoughts mingling with cigarette smoke. She released him, the connection severed, feeling the boiling tension around them shift. You're not afraid of me actually using my abilities? She challenged, her heart pounding not just from fear, but from an awakening clarity she was learning to embrace. Because I will stop you. Enough, Enzo snapped, shoving the man back before turning to Tonja. Focus, we have to move. I need to know where they're going. Tonja nodded, swallowing hard against the currents of their emotions running stealthily beneath the surface, masked by the urgency of the moment. Outside, the rain began to pour, a torrential downpour that mirrored the turmoil within. Stay close, she whispered to Enzo, the weight of their intertwined destiny cradled in the promise of one another's strength. As they moved toward the door, their eyes locked, a silent pledge forged through resistance and fear. This was only the beginning. There was no turning back now. Let's go save some lives, Enzo said, his voice steady, wrapping her in a resolve that sparked chemistry between them. Together, Tonja replied, heart racing as they plunged into the tempest. Scene 102, Mysteries Unfold. The flickering fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in the dim corridor of the FBI's Quantico office, a stark contrast to the sharp edge of anxiety that had settled into the air. Tonja Coleman leaned against the cool metal lamppost that illuminated the stark space. Her vibrant presence seemed almost out of place amid the mundane bureaucracy of the bureau. The faint aroma of paper and old coffee clung to the room, but it was the tension that filled the silence between her and Enzo Arnaud that truly electrified the space. What if we're missing something? What if the corruption runs deeper? Enzo questioned, running a hand through his dark hair, his brow knit in frustration. Tonja straightened, her sharp, deliberate gaze fixing on him. We have to look at all angles, Enzo, she urged, crossing her arms as she pressed closer. The flutter of their shoulders, brushing momentarily, sent a ripple across the room, a breath caught in the delicate flux of tension that sizzled in the atmosphere. The evidence points to someone high up, but we can't act without proof. A wry smile flashed across his face, though shadows lurked in his deep-set eyes. Always the detective, huh? But what if that proof leads us to someone we didn't expect? He gestured emphatically, the weight of their investigation amplifying the urgency in his voice. Tonja took a step back, absorbing the challenge in his words. You're thinking of Wilson, aren't you? He's been moving money around. We already have. It's more than just Wilson. I've been digging through some old files, Enzo interrupted, his voice dropping to a whisper, as if the walls themselves were listening. There's a cover-up that goes all the way to the top. I found files marked confidential about an operation involving high-level agents. The realization struck Tonja like a bolt of lightning. You mean we could be uncovering something that could bring down the entire agency? Exactly, he replied, his tone grave, yet a flash of defiance sparked in his eyes. "But that means those in charge won't let us. They won't go down without a fight." Tonja stepped forward again, her heart racing. The idea of confronting true danger sent a thrill through her veins. "Then we'll need to act fast. But first, we should regroup, talk to the others." "About what? What if they're compromised too?" Enzo snapped, frustration crackling in his voice. He turned away, hands on his hips, the broadness of his stance a shield against vulnerability. The tension resonated in the air, a palpable chord strummed to the point of breaking. Tanja's instinct urged her forward. "We can't just walk away, Enzo. We have to expose this. We have to trust someone." As his back stiffened, Tonja sensed the weight of everything, his burdens and secrets pressing against the fragile fabric of their partnership. For a moment, those bright blue eyes turned back to hers, revealing something deeper, more raw than they had ever shared before. "I want to trust you," he said in a voice barely above a whisper, "but I also don't want to lose you." The words hung heavy in the air, resonating like a soft heartbeat against the tumult of their chaotic world. Her breath caught at his unexpected vulnerability. "You won't lose me, Enzo, not if we do this together." Their eyes locked, the electric current between them crackling with undeniable intensity. Just then, the door to the office burst open, and they both jumped slightly. Rosie Santana strode in, her energy filling the dull space. "Hey, you two, the meeting's about to start. I found something you won't believe." Tonja forced a smile despite the lingering tension and intrigue. She shot Enzo a look, understanding unspoken between them, a shared commitment forged by the secrets they now carried. "We'll finish this conversation later." As Rosie elaborated on her findings, the office buzzed with anticipation. Enzo remained beside Tonja, his presence both grounding and electrifying. And as laughter spilled from Rosie, cascading like sunlight through the shadows, Tonja knew their journey into the heart of darkness was only just beginning.